the beautiful and talented George Morris.
Beautiful and talented George Morris. So you started out as a disc jockey in Montreal?
I was a disc jockey at CKGM. They used to call me Buddy G, the big boss with the hot sauce. Gonna treat you right.
That sounds obscene. Just do a little bit. I've rented a car and they've got the Sirius radio.
Oh yeah.
So the '60s channel, because that's my decade. I'm listening to. But the DJs that are doing that thing, they try to affect the old style of the old DJs.
Yeah.
Some of them may be old DJs, I know, but do something.
Well, I remember that when I was Buddy G, we used to have another disc jockey in town called Dave Boxer. And we used to compete to see who got the music first. And this is just prior to the Beatles. And I got Sgt. Pepper from London before he did. And I played it, but every 15 seconds I would say, a Buddy G exclusive, so that he couldn't record it off the air. He got so upset that he went on the air and he said, G, Buddy G, G stands for goon. So I heard that because we used to monitor each other. And I said, I don't know what the animosity is between disc jockeys in town. I like Dave Boxer. I used to listen to him when I was a kid. my way of getting that. But there was not known, it depended upon the record, how you introduced them. So I can't do it.
What was Montreal like then?
It was a lot more English. And the nascence of Crescent Street and Mountain. It was pretty phenomenal.
I arrived in '70 to go to theater school here. But later than that, but Mountain Street and Crescent Street were all still big.
Big happening.
And you would walk into those places and you could just as easily bump into Mordecai Richler having a drink.
Oh sure.
Winston Churchill's was big.
Yeah, and the Boiler Room.
The Boiler Room, that's right.
Which was under Winston Churchill. Yeah. And all sorts of places. Not very good for your liver, but
the scene was great.
Which?
The scene was great.
The scene was fabulous, yeah.
Any highlights of that era of your career?
Well, I emceed the Beatles show at the Forum in 1964.
So talk a little bit about
George Harrison patted me on the back, and I haven't washed since. Well, the very funny thing is that my wife was in the audience at the time, and she was just a kid. We didn't meet until 7 years later. And when I introduced them, it was just a matter of going on stage, and that's all I could say. And for half an hour, 14-year-old girls, like 16,000 of them, all screaming. You couldn't hear the Beatles at all, which was an amazing occurrence. And then there used to be a lot of shows with old stars like Fats Domino and Laverne Baker and Bill Black's Combo, and they used to have these combo shows at the Forum.
Did you know Donald K. Donald?
Oh yeah, everybody knew Donald K. Donald.
Donald K. Donald. I met him on a plane. I hitchhiked from St. John's, Newfoundland, to Montreal, and then went to Toronto to go to Yorkville, where the hippies were, and my hair down to here. And at one point, I flew from Toronto to Montreal for some reason on that trip with my buddy and myself, and our hair down to here, and Donald K. Donald was sitting next to us. And he's saying, boys, yeah, I'm doing Steppenwolf from Montreal. Steppenwolf's coming to play Montreal Forum. I'll get you tickets. Just give your names.
Yeah.
So, of course, we went down to the stadium, gave our names, and they said, fuck off.
Yeah.
Never forgave him.
But as a result of doing disc jockey work, one of the engineers' brother was Bob Hahn. I don't know if you remember that name, but
yes.
Mainly because of the Meat Bum Bum Dominion Stores jingle. He was a jingle producer, and he had a new cigarette account. First, the only charcoal filter cigarette produced in Canada at the time was called Riggio. How could Riggio taste so good? So I went and joined ACTRA, and at that time the requirements were a lot less strict. Because I was professional and working on air, they gave me a membership without any problems.
Professional recognition?
This is back in the 60s.
Yeah.
So that was my first national spot, which was Riggio.
Well, then we became in Canada, champions in the jingle world, did we not? In terms of like the work was so good here.
Well, I don't know the stuff going to the States, but there was quite a few jingles produced here. There was George Kwasniak, Bob Hahn, and on and on and on.
Well, do you know it's because the concept of royalties came from Canadians, and it came from the Canadians that did the jingles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh.
and the whole.
You mean residuals?
Yeah.
Or royalties?
Residuals.
Residuals.
Yeah, the whole concept came out of that. The guys getting together and saying, you know what, that plays again and again and again and again. I ain't getting nothing.
Right.
And so through their union, they said, we want a piece every time it gets reused.
Well, there was two unions involved. There was ACTRA, there was the American Federation of Musicians, and so everybody got residuals based on that, I guess, which is great. I thank God for residuals.
Right.
I did a Lotto 649 for Quebec 7 years ago, and every 13 weeks they use the same spots over and over, and I get paid, and I only went to session once 7 years ago. You know, and I remember probably the biggest thing I ever did was, again, through residuals. I got called to do Laurentide beer. And it was one line, Laurentide, you got it all. So I gave him 5 takes. And I walked into the control room, and the ACTRA contract said 11 radio, 4 television, principal performer, and it ran for 3 years. I made $60,000 for a one-line situation. So I'm grateful for residuals.
So we'll get into your work as a producer and go over voice studios later. But who was your biggest influence or mentor when you were starting out in voice?
Well, what got me into commercials? Henry Raymer. Had to be. What a voice! What an incredible voice! But what got me into producing commercials was an American, Chuck Bluer, out of Los Angeles. He came here to town to do an ad and sales club, and I attended. And I said, "My God, that's brilliant! That's how to do commercials." And the commercials that were being aired here were just so terrible. I said, "Geez, I can do a better job than that." And I managed to get hold of a couple of writers, and we started up a company called Listen Audio, home of the good guys. And we started producing work, basically initially on a retail level. Did quite a bit of work for Eaton's when it existed. And then from there we started branching out and started doing quite a bit of national work. We did work for McCann Erickson out of Toronto, for Coca-Cola. We did a huge campaign for Pontiac, for McLaren. And we actually put together 4 teams and a car of reporters and producers and had them drive across the country, do recording on the spot, and then send it by plane to be produced as daily commercials. Today is May 17th, and we're on the road from Fredericton to St. John's, and the Pontiac Astra has just performed beautifully. We talked to so-and-so, and that was a terrific campaign. But that was the kind of stuff that we did that was a little unusual.
When you say we, who was involved?
Oh, well, I was the owner and chief bottle washer, I guess. I had writer Steve Kroll, who's also an ACTRA member. Leon Aronson, who's our music director. He's now doing quite a bit of film music. And Sandy Lim, who's a writer. They're all in Toronto now.
So did you initially approach retailers yourself?
Yeah, we put together a demo reel of stuff and knocked on doors.
Right, hard way.
Yeah, and we did the same thing with agencies.
And then when your rep spread, the agencies came to you?
Yeah.
And you expanded to Vancouver at one point?
Well, no, to Toronto. We had a facility in Toronto. We had Morgan Earl was working for us at the time.
Oh, I know.
He then left us to start his own company. So, no, Vancouver was a little distant.
So
But I lived in Vancouver for 8 years.
When was that?
Oh, back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Before you came here.
Yeah.
So in Toronto, you had your studio. What years would that be?
I can't remember. I guess it's now at the point where I have to wait for the mail in the morning to find out who I am. So.
Mr.
Occupant. I keep calling myself occupant.
You were there how long in Toronto, your studio?
I think it was about 3 years.
Did you operate in both cities?
Yeah.
And that
That was ridiculous. It just couldn't do it. I also had an agent in Toronto for voice work.
Who's that?
Well, it was initially Edna.
Edna, right?
I'm sorry, Rotenberg from The Characters.
All right.
And then eventually it was Edna, and then anyway, I can't remember. But
I'm with Characters.
yeah, are you still?
Yeah.
Who's running it now?
It's the original owner.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, he's still there. Yeah, so she's not my age.
Are you getting any work?
I am.
Good.
I just got a call back. We shot an audition here on this camera yesterday, and that's the great thing these days, right? Just and Bill just uploaded it, and they downloaded it, and I got a call back for Thursday in Toronto. So.
Well, I eventually sold my studio, and I built a home studio. I do quite a bit of what's called liner work for radio stations. They hire me as a temporary employee, and I do news introductions, promos.
And you do it all online?
I do it. No, I do it all in my studio.
Yeah.
And then ship it off. Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, it is. It's great because I mean, I can charge some of these stations $500 a month,
right?
And maybe get 3 or 4 pages I have to record in 1 month. So it becomes.
So you kind of do like this is WKBEX in Oregon or whatever kind of thing, yeah.
I was the voice of Classical 96.3 in Toronto for the longest time. I don't know if they're still using. Yeah, they're still using me partially.
George
Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean George, the guy who was the president there.
Who?
Not you. You're occupant. Occupant.
Occupant.
Tell me about being smuggled out of Poland.
Oh, gee, that's a long story, and I don't know if I've really got it right, but I was born in Poland in 1942, and my mother was part of the Polish Free Army underground. And in 1945, just before the war ended, the Germans retreated from Poland and went into Germany. Took most medical personnel with them as prisoners. My mother was studying to be a doctor, so they took her. And I was left as an orphan, basically, on my own with, I guess, some people that knew me or knew my mother. And I was like that for about 6 months. The end of the war came, and my mother, through the auspices of the Red Cross, came back into Poland, found me, and smuggled me out of the country by drugging me and putting me under the seat of the train. And then she was with the American Armed Forces as a nurse, I guess, 45 to 48. And in 1948, we had a chance to go to Brazil. And I went Jorge, the blonde Viking god of the beaches of Ipanema. But she ran into this Canadian, and we ended up in Winnipeg. I never forgave her for that.
Okay. Do you know who John Hirsch was?
No.
John Hirsch is a great director, and he started the Manitoba Theatre Centre.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Hungarian Jew, lost his family, was in orphan camps in Europe, and he was given a chance to immigrate to Canada. And when they said, "Where would you like to go?" he looked at a map of Canada, and he saw that Winnipeg was at the centre, so he thought that must be the capital. So he stayed there. And that's how he ended up.
I was in Winnipeg once, but it was closed.
Yeah.
Old story.
So you mentioned Henry Raymer, who was a friend of mine. We used to, before he passed, we used to be part of the same YMCA club in Toronto. What have you learned that you maybe have passed on younger voice people, what is the thing that you talk about the most?
It's how to read.
Tell me about that.
That's the key.
Right.
I mean, if you can read and not sound like you're reading, that gives you a foot up. I don't know. I guess it's just inherent. I don't think there's any one thing that you can say, hey, do this or do that. I had one mentor who was a program director at a radio station in Vancouver, and he used to tell me to read billboards out loud and as slowly as possible to learn how to enunciate, that kind of thing. But, either you have it or you don't.
Well, you were given a gift of a voice.
Luckily, yeah.
And but the reading thing is a very interesting thing because it's lifting it off the page
And making it come alive.
And it's a story, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's like a 30-second or a 10-second blurb on a radio ad, it's a story.
That's right.
So you have to figure out what the story is.
Yeah. What does it mean? Can you read it like a story? You're exactly right. Even if it's a commercial.
Right. So you're a member of ACTRA for how many years now?
Oh, since early '60s.
Oh, great.
150 years. It'll only take a minute, my dear.
You're also a member of ACTRA Fraternal Benefit Society.
Yes. Well, thank God for them. I just recently had open heart surgery last May, 2013. Okay. And they supported me surprisingly well. They paid a salary, I guess, for the duration of the time that I was unable to work.
That's awesome.
And some dental work that I had to have done as a consequence of the operation. Yeah, they wouldn't operate on my heart until I got some teeth fixed. So.
And you're a riffer now?
Not quite. I won't be 71 till April.
Right.
So.
And are you pleased with the RRSP through Fraternal?
Yeah, I had quite a bit of money in there. I started to eke out slowly but surely for quite some time. So what's left is now part of a spousal RRSP that my wife owns.
Right.
Fortunately for me.
Yes, that's good. And
good old Jane Nelson has been the savior and throughout this whole time.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, she is.
What do you think about the personal service you get at Fraternal?
Terrific. I have no complaints whatsoever, except recently that they've initiated some sort of policy where I had to get a doctor to explain why I needed blood tests, and they wouldn't. The insurance company wouldn't honor it until such time as I got a doctor to, as if I was going to get a blood test for fun.
Yes. Yeah. Some of the
That's all.
Sometimes don't make sense, but some of we just reviewed our benefits this year, and I think some of those things are going to be changing, hopefully, anyway. So, is there such a thing as retirement?
I am currently retired, per se. I'm not working for anybody except for myself and the odd job that I can get, voice work. But no, I what's the point? I just sound older, so I get older roles.
Do you do on camera as well?
Some. I did On the Road, the Jack Kerouac movie.
Oh, right.
I had one line. Sorry, son, I ain't seen your old man in I don't know how many years. And that's it.
You remember he's not that bad.
No.
Have you ever done any radio drama?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I heard Earl Pennington's voice when he was at the CBC, and I said, wow, this guy's terrific. This is when I first started to listen. Right. So I got him voice work in commercials. I started him off in commercials, as a matter of fact. And he got me into radio drama. He was producing radio drama here at CBC Montreal. Right. And so I did 4 or 5 shows, but I can't remember what they were.
Cool. Cool.
I enjoyed it.
Oh. This is ACTRA's 70th birthday this year. Mm-hmm. So could you say happy birthday, ACTRA, for us?
Happy birthday, ACTRA, and thank you.
Cool. That's great.
Great.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Really nice.